Hey internet, I'm back. Last time I uploaded a video, I said I had fixed the quality, and when it uploaded horribly, but I think I actually have it figured out, and hopefully this actually does look and sound better. Let me know if it does in the comments or in the replies. But today I want to talk about my three favorite Bitcoin books to recommend to average people. I've been recommending Bitcoin and recommending books for people to learn about Bitcoin, to my friends, family, colleagues for many years at this point. And I have a lot of experience in their feedback and, what they like and don't like about the books that I recommend. So I've come up with my top three here. I think it might be a little bit surprising. So watch the video and find out. Starting with number three, it's going to be The Internet of Money by Andreas Antonopoulos. If you're in Bitcoin land, you're probably familiar with Andreas. He is an OG Bitcoiner, been around since probably 2012, 2013 or so. There are all kinds of sort of famous videos of him preaching to early Bitcoin conferences with 10 people in the crowd or whatever. And he's generally just one of Bitcoin's earliest and smartest minds. And he has this book, The Internet of Money, which is actually a collection of his talks. So it's written the way he speaks, and I really like it for that reason. I really like that it's extremely accessible. It's not technical or economic jargon. And Andreas is a great speaker. He's a very engaging speaker. So a collection of his talks in the form of a book is really cool. He's got all kinds of stories about how Bitcoin will impact society at large, and just like I said, plain English. And I like also how thin it is. It's very easy to recommend this to someone. Say, hey, it's just a couple hundred pages, not even that. Let's see, just over 100 pages. So not much for somebody to knock out in a weekend or a week or maybe a couple weeks. So I like that. And another thing that's cool about all of Andreas's work actually is it's all open source. So if you don't actually want to pay for it, you can just go on his website and download the PDF version of this for completely free, or you can buy them on Amazon, I think is where he primarily sells them. I'm not a fan of the way that it's not hardcover. I am a huge fan of hardcover books. I try to buy them exclusively, but unfortunately, this one does not come in a hardcover. So I like it, and I think also if you've listened to a lot of Andreas, his speeches or his work, his talks, then when you read this, or when I read this at least, I kind of read it in his voice, so that makes it a little bit more fun. But yeah, The Internet of Money, highly recommend it, by Andreas Antonopoulos at number three. And at number two is the classic, the original, the Bitcoin Standard. The Bitcoin Standard is obviously the most famous book about Bitcoin. I think this is the book that everyone recommends to people to learn about Bitcoin. It talks about the history of money, time preference, what makes characteristics of money good, and it doesn't. It's not really a book about Bitcoin. Like, this is not, if you're trying to learn about Bitcoin, the protocol, this is not the book. But this is more about principles, like I said, of money, time preference, and what the world could look like with a hard money. So I should mention it's written by Saifedean Ammous. He's an economist. It's written to be like a traditional book, so it's not a collection of talks like Andreas's book, but it's a traditionally written book. It has a foreword by Michael Saylor, so that's pretty fun as well. And it's got a nice hard cover. Like I said, I like hard covers. It isn't necessarily the most entertaining book. I think that's some criticism that I get a lot when I recommend this book, is I just think it's boring, is what they say. And, I don't think it's boring because I am just a nerd about Bitcoin and the history of money and all of this, but not everyone agrees. So I do recognize it can be difficult for people to finish this, especially if they're just not as interested as I am. So that's why it's not my favorite, number one book to recommend, but it's still obviously an amazing book. I think it should definitely be one of the first three that you read if you are learning about Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin Standard, you can buy this one at thesafehouse.com, I believe is where they sell, or where Saifedean prefers you to buy them. But I think you can buy them just about anywhere. It's a really popular book, like I said. And then coming in at number one is a relatively new one. And this one is my favorite because of the way it's written. Everything about it, I'll just go ahead and say it, is Gradually Then Suddenly by Parker Lewis. Um, if you don't know who Parker Lewis is, Parker Lewis formerly worked at Unchained. Now he works at Zaprite, which is a Bitcoin payments company, doing awesome work there. But this book is a collection of essays. So we sort of had a collection of talks, a more traditionally written book, and then a collection of essays that were all originally published online. And each one of them dives into a specific topic that most people or everyone is curious about Bitcoin, whether it's what would happen if a government tried to ban Bitcoin, or why do societies converge on one form of money, or it's just like what happens if AI, like what about Bitcoin and the environment, all these questions that people typically have when they're looking into Bitcoin. If you're curious about that question in and of itself, you can just skip straight to that chapter, which is really nice. And the chapter, you can read them individually, you can read them in order, but I think it's just a great book. I think it's the best, as Marty says, 0 to 1 primer um, on learning Bitcoin. I think everyone should read this book. I think it's the thickest out of the three books here. Just put them here as a comparison. But it's the best, and the cover is awesome. I'm a huge fan. This is one of my favorite book covers ever. It's done by an artist called Proof of Paint, and you can find him on Twitter, on X. And I just think it's an awesome cover. It's sort of uh, choppy waters, and then as you turn it over to the back, it's that's Bitcoin, fiat, Bitcoin, and it's also got a nice undercover as well. That is timeless. Big fan of high quality printed books. But yeah, Gradually Then Suddenly, this is the number one book that I recommend to people for all the reasons that I listed. I just think it's the best, and I've probably bought like 5 copies at least at this point. So yeah, and then I actually do want to do a bonus honorable mention. Goes to Broken Money by Lynn Alden. This is a great book. This is a great book about Bitcoin and why adopting Bitcoin is a great idea, and why fiat sucks. But it's just really hard for me to recommend it to people because it's basically a small textbook. I've given it to people, and uh, I get looks if I give this book to people. I gave one of these to my friend Matthew, and he was like, "Wow, that's a thick ass book." Um, so yeah, it's a great book about Bitcoin, but I wouldn't say it's one of the first three that you should read. But I thought it was good enough for an honorable mention. Honorable mention, Broken Money by Lynn Alden. So we had that one. To recap, we had number 3, The Internet of Money by Andreas Antonopoulos. We've got The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Ammous. And we have Gradually Then Suddenly by Parker Lewis. Let me do this for the thumbnail. Maybe. All right. All right. I think that's all I've got for this video. I highly recommend reading those 3 books. And if you like this video, like it on whatever platform you're on. Give me a comment. Give me some feedback. You can leave it in the comments. You can reply it. You can message me. I want to make more videos. I've been quite busy over the last month or two with some exciting things, but I've been quite busy, and videos have sort of taken the wayside. So if y'all like these, then I will definitely record more. And yeah, see y'all in the next one. Peace.